Hey everybody. Today is November the 9th, 2023, and this is another installment of Protecting the Nest. And today I'm joined by Amber, Tara, and John. So
Hey,
welcome to the
Tyrone.
show, everybody.
No, I'm Carol, not Amber.
Carol. Carol. Yeah, Amber's with us in spirit, and we do have something to talk about that she's doing, but
And she may join later
she may join later.
if all goes smoothly.
That's it. Eek eek. Thank you,
Eek.
Tyrone.
Hey, so
Well, we have our Foursquare going, and we've been off in a few different directions for coming up into the fall. We fell back, so here we are with our. I think almost every place does. I know some little pockets don't do it, but I think we almost all do.
Maybe Arizona doesn't.
Yeah, little parts do, and
Parts
they
of
just,
it, yeah. But
yeah.
I don't know. I keep hearing it's going to be done and over with, and then that never happens.
It
But
never
again, this year I heard, oh, this is the last time we'll have to do this.
really.
We'll
Well,
see.
I think this year I appreciate it a little more than other years. Um, you just kind of like prepare yourself to be like, I'm gonna keep my sun clock centered, even though
Hmm.
everything we're doing is different. And then of course with the chickens,
Yeah, they don't get it.
you're even
Yeah.
more with the sunlight because
Hmm.
you know going by predators and whatnot. So how's it going in all y'all's neck of the woods?
Well, funny you should use the word predators because that is what we're in Atlanta. We have a problem now with sexual predators,
Yeah.
and probably have had for some time, but it's hitting closer to home now, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But yeah, there's all kinds of predators out there, and that is pretty much why, in my opinion, why we do the show. Because people need to know how the predators are operating and what their new and improved tactics are and how they use technology.
What their new sheep's clothing looks like.
Yeah.
They keep changing their outfits.
yeah, and they hide in internet chat websites and stuff like that.
Yes. So
Even
that's
though,
why we were saying get the stink eye.
Yeah. Well, John, why don't you let us know what's going on with Amber? We've heard some of the stuff, which is pretty horrific. So give us the lowdown.
Yeah, Amber's oldest child is in junior high school here in Atlanta. It's a private school, and they pay a pretty good price, even with a slight discount that they get because they maintain the grounds. The 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 long and short of it is that the oldest child, who is 12 years old, was forced to read a book about gay porn and do a book report. And Amber and her husband have had a huge problem for the past 4 days trying to understand why this book was on the reading list and why the school board, I mean the school administration, is not listening to the parents about this issue.
So other parents are just as upset.
Well, a few of them are, and Amber and her husband are trying hard to go around to each of the parents and let them know that this problem exists, that they are being actively kept out of the loop by the conversation that's going on between the administrators and the teacher or teachers involved.
Yeah, she did send out what it is, and it's like so bad, it's unmentionable on the airwaves. The language is, um, just you can't imagine it being okay for kids. I mean, even if it wasn't gay porn, it's still porn, and how is that okay? And I think it was really lucky that she has great communication with her son and that he let her know how horrible it made him feel, that it just made him feel really uncomfortable. And he was so upset. He was crying about it. And yeah, it seems like there's this new emerging okayness of kids not telling their parents and the parents not being part of, like, getting, they can get vaccinations without permission, that there's just this separation going on, and it's being done in a kind of clandestine manner, which is very distressing. I think, if someone was to put that in the newspaper or anywhere, people would say, what is this? What is going on? So, and I think predation is the right word. I think it's grooming. And
Yeah, and they're trying to make all of this more acceptable,
mhm.
through the law.
But porno's never been acceptable for children. There's that's
They have to get it socially acceptable, which is why they're
mhm.
doing these little things.
Yeah, I mean, come on. If you're, what, 10 years old or something, and like there's a friend or even like maybe an older sibling or something that are like, oh, I found this like raunchy thing or whatever, whatever, they'll deal with it. It's something. But it's like when you have adults that are supposed to be not just understand how to act, right? It is so, that's the thing. It's not like Amber found out and her child was like, oh, excited about it. Like, he was upset. Like, he could tell that it was wrong, that just stuff about it was wrong. And seriously, a lot of this content is like I think I've said before, as a kid, as a child, I was like reading Dr. Ruth books at the library. I was like, don't keep anything from me. I'm going to find out. I want to understand it. I want to know it. But at the same time, was lucky enough to be, protected in a wholesome environment and be able to, just be safe, and luckily, you guys know Amber, she's a great mom and they're great parents and stuff. But the majority of kids, honestly, are not going to say anything to any adult. They're just going to like internalize the weird atmosphere, and like, and this is where I was leading with myself. Like, this is a different level dark. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be like a descriptive, like adult child gay, like, whatever thing that they're like describing out this like language that like nobody even wants to hear, like, never mind a little kid. So the funding that is going into this crap and into the structure of like public school, public medicine, what, not public, you know what I'm saying, industry is very dark, and we need to have the hugest stink eye on this stuff.
Well, it is going into medicine. That you were speaking right. I mean, there's a lot of dark stuff that is easy to find if you know how to speak that language. And I think even doctors are so busy, they're not noticing the papers that are all out there that are saying there's poisons in our food. Like, we watched a video last week about a group of moms across the country that analyzed the food that was being fed in most of the school districts across the country, it was fast food, and they actually had it analyzed by a lab, and people sent it all in, and there was arsenic, there was heavy metals. I mean, it wasn't just some stuff that wasn't organic. It was lots of horrible poisons that are part of eating inexpensively. And so I think a lot of people, it's quick, it's easy, but it is the same kind of pollution is being incorporated into the food supply as into the curriculum.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like nourishment is so important. And I feel like as a culture, you know, probably just like anywhere, there's pockets and like good families where food, you know, where food is super important. But like as a culture, we're kind of tricked into thinking like, oh, nutrition and daily nutrition is kind of secondary to like everything else that you need to do. You know what I mean? And instead of making
It's not taught even in the medical schools. Yeah, it's just not taught, not talked about. And if you go to the doctor and ask him about, does your diet affect this condition or that, they always say no. So it is a mystery why that's the case.
well, they're not trained. They do like a week of nutrition.
Mhm.
They do not specialize in nutrition, and you have to go to a nutritionalist if you know, some doctors understand that they should make themselves knowledgeable, and they do, but it definitely is not a given in Western
Yeah.
school.
And I think
Well,
nutrition is how we build up our immune system, and that's what we need to do culturally now. We need to rebuild our immune system
I agree.
culturally.
And also, we definitely know that nutrition affects your mental capabilities because they found a link between problems in the gut biome and Alzheimer's. So, be careful what you eat, or at least be careful what you eat consistently.
Yeah, but it's a metaphor for everything really, that we can augment the good parts that are improve things, and we can minimize the toxins, but in the exact opposite is what seems to be happening on many levels. And that's, I think, what fifth generation warfare is, and what predators do. They try to trick people to get them into their lair, into their snare, into their whatever. So there's just trickery everywhere.
It's like, I know I told Tyrone this about a year ago, but I probably didn't tell the three of you. And back in Italy, there was a big scandal in 2008 where they found hundreds of vats of poisoned milk. It had I don't know if it was arsenic, but it was some chemical and bovine growth hormone. It was just unbelievably unhealthy. And they were selling it to school cafeterias. So finally, the parents complained enough, and the carabinieri were caused these people to shut down. But a year later, they were back up and running under a different name. It's that kind of thing that's driving people nuts.
I know, and it's like, you know, you need to really. It's a fine line because you want to be healthy, you want to be safe, you want to do the right thing, but you certainly don't want to cross over into like anxiety, because that's not good for you. You know what I mean? So it's like it's all about the stink eye again. Like, you know, go follow your instinct. If something doesn't seem right, taste right, seem right, or you just get a weird feeling, go with it. And if you can find out ingredients. You know, obviously nothing's a given, but I think as we navigate some of these more like, you know, dangerous waters, find our flow, whatnot, just, you know, I became a vegetarian pretty much like my whole pregnancy. I was still a vegetarian, and I didn't even really start like getting totally into seafood until like I was breastfeeding. But like I had always, you know, really liked food, but hadn't really thought that much about it. And then I started to realize, oh, there's like creepy stuff that, you know, potentially whatever. And then instead of food being like attractive, it would be like, you know, the danger zone, like what is good or whatever. And then like being pregnant, for me it was like, okay, you need to go to like the good things about food, getting really excited about the things that you really like. Like the things that you really like, go for it, find the best of it, and mix it with other good stuff. And so, just like you were saying, Carol, the good stuff can always, overplay the stuff that we watch out for. And especially with prayer, we know can transform water, which is most of everything.
Mhm. And yeah, prayer, thoughts, language, all those things can emanate from us outwardly. And that's something we can do. I mean, I think the idea of both promoting something good and at the same time minimizing is bad has been flipped on its head. And so what's happening in the media, culturally, in our curriculums, everywhere we look, in our grocery stores, the bad stuff is what's being promoted and the good stuff is what's being minimized. So we just and even when you look at the papers on the genes, and even when we're looking at the fast cancer stuff and what's happening, it's the same thing. You constrict the gene that will activate your immune system. You constrict it, you wrap it up tightly so it can't express itself, and then you activate the ones that are going to hurt you. So that metaphor is working on all these different levels, promoting.
So freedom of expression is on attack at every level, from the macro to the micro, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So that's where we really need our stink eye, also called discernment. That's another good word too. But yeah, you just really have to see who's saying this, where is it coming from, and call it out wherever we can. And there's still, I don't know, here in Portland, Oregon, there's still a lot of pushback. And I just found out that my grandson, part of his literature curriculum was Exorcist, the movie, the actual movie,
Wow.
not even reading the book. That they're, the literature classes are more about discussing media than teaching kids how to read and analyze and write. I think it's there on some level, but not everywhere. So
They
it's
could have did a classics remake or something, like Romeo and Juliet, but The Exorcist. I've actually never seen that movie myself, just because I'm not into that type of stuff.
Well, the old one, was it the old one or the new one?
I didn't ask him. I didn't even know there was two. I don't know.
Well, there was one that I saw when I was little that my dad let me see, and my mom was mad at him, and it tormented me. But then probably, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, there was another one that was something of Emily Rose or something. I never saw that one.
Yeah, I saw part of something that was, I don't know which version, but it had the little girl's neck would twirl up. The graphics were just horrific.
Right.
And yeah, it was
Exactly. Not stuff for children, not imagery for children.
no, not even teenagers. Yeah, it's this is not classic literature. You think of literature as being the classics, exactly. That's what you're going to be learning and studying, whatever, Greek mythology and Shakespeare, and that's what we looked at, that stuff. What were people thinking about, and how is it like what we're thinking about? And there was a lot of analysis there, but that some of the stuff that is actually being studied, I don't think the critical thinking, I know Peter Duke talks a lot about this too, that the critical thinking is just not being taught. And that's stink eye, discernment. How can you tell, is this resonating? Does this make sense? Does it have logical outcomes and consequences? And, you can, how do you analyze it to see, is this valid? Is this not valid?
Well, a large element in my own upbringing were the classics like the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
And those books have withstood the test of time, so they must have material that are good for growth. And yet, in fewer and fewer schools, do you see the Iliad and the Odyssey being taught?
Yeah, they were taught in my college. I don't think they were in high school, but we did look at, um, a lot of classics, mostly like Greek mythology, and that too talks about the metaphors of life. So it those things you can
But
think about.
it just literature itself, you think reading.
Hmm.
And so it's just that what your brain does when you're reading is different than watching something that may be very entertaining and very good, but all the like visuals are filled in for you and audio are filled in for you. And when you're reading, it's like your mind gets to like hear the descriptiveness of the words and formulate your own your own image of something. And now granted, as researchers, definitely a picture is worth like 1,000 words, and we want to see the real
Mhm.
thing. But for just storytelling, and just to either be the reader or the listener, has a special thing unto itself that for your mind and spirit.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right because it forces you to be able to create your own imagery. And so it forces creativity. You have to translate it into what you think it looks like because you don't have the pictures there. So your brain has to work extra hard. And that's a wonderful exercise.
And if you think about it, that's what makes it so much better for kids,
Hmm.
because then I know for me personally, and maybe we all feel this way, when you're a kid, when you hear something, you reference it to like your own thing. So it's not like you can, like when you see something that's like horrible, it's like hard that you can't take it back. But if it's like, oh, you're hearing the details of this story, you're imagining it, like, bless you. But it's just like, depending on the storyteller and where they're taking you, you get to experience it that way. So what did he think about The Exorcist? Did he like it?
Well, he didn't really say what he thought about it, but he did say that they had a good discussion analyzing like the special effects and stuff like that. So I don't know that they talked about what the issues were even, but the imagery is fairly horrific, so it gets indelibly etched.
Did he ask any of the children if they felt traumatized after
I don't
watching
think
it?
so. Yeah, I would doubt that, but yeah, I was just so horrified um, that that's what it counts as. I just was. It's
Yeah, the
another
stuff they put
discussion.
in these children's books, supposed to be for children, is absolutely reprehensible. Some of the stuff that Amber showed us that her child was being exposed to. Like I never read anything like that in school. No themes like that. Period. Like you would have had to get a book, you know, from like maybe Books a Million maybe had something with that in it, but you would never get nothing like that in school. Talking
Hmm.
about liking a teacher, but you're a boy and all this stuff. And then even mentioning looking online at men is just like that's so weird to see in a book for a teenager. Like we got to do better.
Hmm.
We're
Yeah.
supposed to be an exceptional country, but falling short in a lot of ways.
Well, we've gotten infiltrated. We've gotten
Hmm.
infiltrated, and these people have secured positions on school boards and as teachers and like funding apparatuses, all this stuff. While meanwhile we're just like dum dum, like living our life, not even realizing like we can all. It's not just it, that's the thing about the educational system, is that it's like generations layered upon generations.
Hmm.
It's like they might have been subtle about something in one generation, and then like a little bit more overt the next generation, where it just like compiles on itself until people don't we're kind 2020 was huge because people were like disrupted from their schedules and
Mhm.
started paying closer attention to what schools were doing, while at the same time schools were turning it up, and so here we are.
Well, I think that all that Zoom classes, that was really just an unfortunate thing on so many levels for several years. What was it, 2 years or 3 years or part of 3 years? I think it was a long time that the classes weren't really happening, and somehow a lot of stuff slipped in. Just like we found out, um, that a lot of um, the 5G got put in at that time on 2020.
Right.
That was all, the roads were dug up because nobody was riding on them. So they just used that time. So it had to have been so well orchestrated.
It was everything was orchestrated together. I think I have this pet theory that the development of the Zoom utility was done years and years ago, and it was rolled out specifically in 2020 as part of an operation to normalize suicide among teenagers and young adults. And I'm going to have a lot of work to actually prove that, especially with works by Professor Sherry Tuckle up at MIT. But there is evidence. I think you can see it in the data. There are a lot of, in 2021 and 2022, suicides were way up for that age group.
Well, part of it's isolation, and I think what it does is it normalizes that isolation, and it makes human interaction into this flat screen, limited to just an image. And that's so much different than, a hug or a handshake or, just the emanations from humans. Our field of thought, our electromagnetic field we have, it doesn't work the same. Just like, think of all the music classes too that have that delayed reaction. You can't do it. It's just not this. You get no resonance.
And also
So
to add to that,
that's the point.
they also, like Mark Kulek talks about, they love data. And that's another way to gather data is to have all the children using these computers, where it's easier to compile all that, like everything. So that's one thing too. And also this new learning platform that's mostly digital. Because, if you've heard of the credit system, where you can say the tokens for doing well in school and kind of gamification of learning and all this. So that's been part of the agenda as well. It's multifaceted what it's accomplishing, over these past 3 years.
Yeah, it's like some silver linings, but like I know for myself personally, and I'm sure I'm not alone, that previous to 2020 and all this, like I've had a lot of respect for schools. We might have found out certain schools, but like schools in general, just the whole, and hospitals too maybe, but just now it's like I think a lot of people, their opinion has become so low and so like basically suspicious of what potential. I mean, not everyone obviously, but a lot more people. So you never thought, like a few years ago, the school board meetings, the school board would be, or the meetings would be this like grounds for battle. You'd think that it was common sense that we'd all have the most obvious basic protection of the kids, and like Tyrone, like you were just saying, some of this language on this stuff, that would be something we could agree on, that we could be like, yeah, let's leave that out of school curriculum. Why don't we?
And I thought it was a little absurd that at these school board meetings, they're basically treating people like they're at one of these Supreme Court hearings, where you get like a couple minutes to talk, and then they just cut you off when they're ready. And, you don't even get to say your whole piece. It's like, why can't the parents have an opinion? I'm sure a lot of these people on these school boards don't even have children. It wouldn't even surprise me. That should be
That's
like
right.
almost a requirement if you're gonna work around kids. You should have kids.
Yeah.
I think so. They can come from out of state, get funded, or out of the community, or at least not a parent. You know what I mean? So it's like their interests are. I mean, it's so absurd to try to say. I got a survey thing the other day that said, "Do you think that it's okay for parents to have a say in the curriculum, even if it's something that like educators think is good or something like that?" So I was like, I jumped on the survey and just whatever. I was just like, and they showed the percentage, and it was like more people thought that it was closer to 50-50, but more people. And I jumped on this site from like a Massachusetts, checking to see if there was anything that I was supposed to vote on type page or whatever. So it was like geared toward this area. And it's like most people think that the teachers would have more rights on the curriculum. You know what I mean? Which is to me is very telling of the state of confidence, like educational confidence, that parents across the board like have. You know what I mean? Like people don't feel like they have things that they could teach their children, or at least have some kind of input on that. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, oh no, I'm not a professional, so I know nothing.
Well, people are busy. There's a lot more pressures too on just everybody needing to work to pay the bills, and people aren't home, and it's hard to keep everything going. So I think that opens up the doors.
Well, that's on purpose. That's part of the
Yeah.
model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are trying to make it very difficult for us to protect kids. Unfortunately.
Exactly.
I think there's still a lot of good people out there. We can't
Of
forget
course.
about all the good people out there still doing the good work.
The majority.
All the evil that be happening.
Yeah, there's more of us. There's definitely more of us. It's just that that's one of the things on why people don't automatically see the evil or the width of the web or whatever, because they're good. The majority of people they know it
Mm-hmm.
is good, and so they assume that stand-up people are the ones that are like forming these power structures and these governments and these industries and blah blah blah. And there are, but there's a lot of stuff that we need to cut right out.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of crazy double think about that, because I think whereas people are feeling that, they want to assume that everybody's like them and is good, yet there's this message that people are horrible, people are greedy, and they're just, you can't trust anybody. That idea of breaking down trust everywhere you look is definitely part of this double think that's going on, and that's being used to say, well, if you have a big party and say goodbye, the excuse that it's okay to just off yourself, just decide to do that without having to be. I mean, I can understand people wanting to have some control over the end of their life in terms of horrible pain and awful symptoms that you had to go through. I can understand part of that, but just to say goodbye, have a party here, we'll give you a pill and you can have a nice time, just that's a different thing.
Trickery.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's Soylent Green. It's what H.G. Wells saw coming.
I know that's the kind of stuff that makes me like, I'm really not a sci-fi person, but I'm just like, there's something that seems other species-ish about that whole like angle, and honestly, I just think that it's just empty empty people house demons, you know, and grab a hold of these power structures that we just cannot allow basically.
Mhm.
It's like I feel like on the good side, like on the flip side, that we are having like um in the positive, we're having a subtle effect while having kind of like overt theatrics, you know? So there's a lot going on that you could pay a bunch of attention to with all the, you know, political stuff and whatever. You know, John jumped off for a minute. So from the third point, I'll just say, even with everything going on, like war wise or whatever, it's like just stay on the third point, because, you know, anything with like two sides, like you just run the risk of being too blindsided if you just
Mhm.
one side or the other. Like just keep the third point perspective, because, you know, any of us can all think like, you know, as far as these factions go, like we know that they don't follow neatly the lines of like any country or region or any group, you know.
Well, I think that's a good point. I think that what we can do, and that's what this program is all about, protecting the nest, is to, you know that we can get through this, as icky as it is. And by looking at this horrible stuff, we can still feel good. We can still love each other. We can still, have a wonderful experience here on Earth. And that's what we have to do to protect our nest. And that's why I did bring a video that I just really enjoyed. It was just something I came across, and I just really liked the fact that it wasn't in English necessarily. There was some sort of subtitles about it, and it was just this beautiful ritual of using these beautiful tools to make a simple thing that makes you feel really great and really helps you internally too. This guy making salve for anti wrinkles. So here I'm a great grandma. That's a good theme. But 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 supporting your skin and rejuvenating your skin and having that absorption, it goes into the inside too. It goes into all of the collagen that your body uses, the cells all over. So it's not just
Did you want to watch some of that?
yeah, let's look at it because it's real
Okay.
meditative. There's just nice music, and I love the tools he uses to make this stuff. And then he makes a wonderful tea afterwards. It's only 3 minutes, but it's very meditative, and it just makes you feel great. So yeah, let's watch it. It'll change our attitude a little bit here from just seeing
Okay, just a moment.
horrible
I'm gonna
things.
share that
You know,
video.
a couple that I think that's what we need to do. The next time
Mhm.
somebody's trying to like have a, you know, disagree, whatever, you know, confused young person, be like, let's come have a cup of tea.
Mhm.
Okay. I got
Yeah,
some
just
biscuits. You know what I mean?
simple ritual that you can
Yeah.
do either
Let's eat
on your
together.
phone or to bring people together. Yeah, exactly. And using real ingredients
Yeah.
and appreciate them, and having gratitude for just a simple little ritual. Here
Yes.
he is. You can start at the beginning. It's short. I don't hear it. There's really nice music.
Oh, I hear it.
You hear it?
I hear it. Yeah.
Let me try to reshare it right quick.
Yeah, I didn't hear it at all.
It's just real quick. Do 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 do.
Mhm.
Something like that.
Um,
I don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, I don't hear it. It's very, maybe a
doo,
tiny.
doo,
An
doo.
orange.
Yeah, he starts with the orange and he
Mm.
washes the orange really beautifully.
I love citrus. Citrus
Mhm.
is such a like lime, orange, grapefruit. Like
Yeah, I really enjoyed the
yeah,
music. So I hope we can get the sound going.
there
Here
it
you go.
is. Love it. That was so relaxing.
Sorry, I brought us back in early. It
Mute it.
still wasn't finished.
Carol, you're muted. Mute it.
Yeah, it wasn't done. He grates the ginger and he makes this really lovely tea with more ingredients. But anyway, I just like the
Drink? Tea
meditative.
to drink.
Yeah, tea to drink. That's what he's making: lemon and ginger, and I forget, maybe it was cinnamon or cloves or something. You could have it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it didn't look too difficult to make. Did
no,
you
yeah,
watch the second part of it? It's got about 2 minutes left.
yeah. No, let's watch him make the tea because
Okay.
it's really quite lovely.
Sorry about that, ladies.
That's okay. We got to pause for comment.
Here. Yeah, water. Yes.
I'm gonna bring it back a little bit.
That looks amazing. I love the color.
Yeah, that last drink looked like it'd be kind of strong with all that ginger in it.
Spicy. Yeah. Speeds up your metabolism. That's all good.
Well, we know John would absolutely love that because he likes ginger beer, so I'm assuming he would like ginger. And my friend Sarah would absolutely love it because he eats like whole pieces of ginger. Me myself, I don't know. I'm not a chugger of it, but I would definitely try it, and it looks dang good.
Yeah, it looks pretty strong. I think it's a sipping tea. You
Yeah.
sip it slowly,
Yeah,
and
definitely. You
it
definitely
has
have
that
to-
warm color like fire. It would just warm you in the winter.
Yes.
And
I'm gonna have to make that drink and get back to y'all.
Yeah.
I bet it smells great.
Yeah, 'cause
Mm.
I have all that stuff already, so I could do that.
Well, you're a chef.
Well, I
Oh,
was a chef for a couple of years. Not anymore though. I mean, at home, of course.
Mhm.
well,
Well, I
of
think
course, if you can do it.
it's just a great reminder that just really simple things done carefully um, you can just feel the gratitude in every gesture of what he was doing, and I just really loved that. It made me really, really happy to watch it. So different from all the other stuff I'm always watching about all these horrible things. It was just a lovely feeling.
That's right. Good atmosphere, good
Mhm.
like colors, and very like earthy ingredients, and then
Yeah, and I like the multiple
music.
languages.
Yeah, German. I was like wondering that. Well, that was German. on there. I was like, is that guy German? I don't know. But it looked German. But yeah, I think that, colors are so important for not only food, but just, your eyes even. I think that's connected anyway, you see it and it's just, no, and it's like those tricks, when we talk about those tricks or ingredients, it's like, food coloring or freaking waste products or whatever they're trying to like add in there.
Arsenic, heavy metals. It was worse than just food coloring.
Yeah.
It's like they're just putting it in there because they don't know what else to do with the stuff. So they're trying to
Exactly.
It's almost that makes me think of like the repurposed drugs. They just try to repurpose.
That's
every
very
material.
much like what fluoride was. It was something that they needed to get rid of from the uranium industry, from the power plants, and so okay, we'll just put it in the water supply.
Like the petroleum jelly.
Petroleum jelly is the same thing exactly. It was just the waste products from making oil. Yeah.
And
real stuff.
Sorry, I just want to say we're almost at the top of the hour.
yeah.
So did y'all have any final thoughts?
Well, I think, staying away from certain products that you can, or foods, when you can be more creative and go outside of the Procter and Gamble box and flip and, get your own, it's not, don't beat yourself up about it, like whatever, but just, I think, thinking more about sourcing and about trying new things and about supporting, like I just got this aloe from, just, this family business, and like I ordered online, but they're like showing them at the farm, like whatever, and that's a great simple product, just thinking simple, which can be great.
That's a great thought, Tara. I think that just a lot of those toxins are not simple. They come from these cracking, fracking, all this stuff, and it's being folded in. But just to go back to the basics and just appreciate the basics and the simplicity, and what we're finding in all the research that we're doing with fast cancer and all this other stuff, all the horrible stuff out there, the stuff that can undo it are things like garlic. You can, there's different, maybe new technological ways of getting it into you, but it's for thousands of years people have known how healing it is and how it can support the super soldiers, etc. So the answers are before us. They're here. They're already here. So that we're learning that through the technology. That's what's coming all the way full circle. So let's get there as fast as we can. I'm ready.
Me too. And I guess some takeaways from this show is take time to do simple things to take care of yourself. Hide your kids and debrief them often. Be careful what you hear on the TV, and definitely do your research. Stay informed. Don't get fooled. Again, too bad I don't have that song ready to play. I think that would be a strong anyway. But.
Well, do you guys remember that guy? Hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, because they're raping everybody out here.
I never heard that.
That sounds great.
It was these people that they do, like they take real news things and they make it into a song. But
okay.
I'll find it for you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies. This has been a very enjoyable show, and I hope everybody out there enjoys it. And we will catch you next time. Thank you, Tara and Carol. Not
thank
Amber.
You.
Well, thank you, Tyrone.
That's right. We can bring Amber.
And John and Amber.
And John and Amber.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Eek, eek, eek.
Eek, eek, eek.